Ever had a moment where your heart felt oddly calm when thinking of a certain person? Or maybe their name keeps showing up in conversations, on social media, or in dreams. If you're wondering whether Allah is trying to tell you something, you're not alone. When it comes to soulmates in Islam, nothing is by accident. Allah's planning is flawless. What we often call coincidence is simply His way of remaining anonymous. So, what if that person you keep thinking about is part of your Qadr? Let's dive deep into how Allah sends messages, how to recognize them, and what to do when your soul senses that someone is meant for you. Understanding soulmates in Islam, everything is written. Allah says in Surah Al-Qamar, "Indeed, all things we created with predestination." Quran 54, Banding 49. That includes the one you'll marry. Your soulmate isn't just a random person. You bump into their already written for you. Allah beautifully says in Surah Al-Aram, "And among His signs is that He created for you from yourselves mates, that you may find tranquility in them. And He placed between you affection and mercy." 30 minutes and 21 seconds, that tranquility, that ease you feel with someone. That's not emotional fluff, spiritual confirmation. Beyond feelings, Islam emphasizes the importance of marrying someone with taqwa, God consciousness. A soulmate is not just someone you're drawn to, but someone who brings you closer to Allah. 1. How Allah communicates messages to you sometimes. In pain or confusion, we whisper, "Ya Allah, give me a sign." But we forget Allah is speaking, just not always in the way we expect. Through istikhara, when you surrender, not control. Istikhara isn't a ritual to demand clear answers. It's a humble surrender. "Oh Allah, choose what's best for me, even if it's not what your heart wants, even if the path ahead is painful." Sometimes the answer comes as ease, other times as rejection. That closed door, it's mercy in disguise. It's Allah saying, "This would have harmed you." Through the heart, peace beyond logic. You may feel an unshakable calm about a decision, a quiet knowing, even when the world shouts otherwise. The Prophet said, "Ask your heart, even if people give you fatwa after fatwa." Ahmad, when your heart is sincere, Allah can guide it. Not through impulse, but through clarity. Through life itself, divine timing, that delayed response, that unexpected meeting, that coincidence that changed everything. It's not random, it's written. Allah's plan is always unfolding. Not always loud, but always on time. He speaks through events, timing, and turns to grow you, redirect you, and ultimately bring you closer to Him. To recognizing the signs from Allah when you've prayed. When your heart is sincere, when your du'as are whispered in the stillness of the night, Allah responds. But not always through lightning bolts or loud miracles. Sometimes He speaks in patterns, in feelings, in subtle divine whispers. Here are 3 signs you should never ignore. Sudden peace. When thinking of someone, this isn't excitement. It's not adrenaline or romantic butterflies, it's stillness. When someone is meant for your soul, the heart doesn't panic, it settles. There's a quiet assurance that says, "I don't have to force this." You think of them, and instead of confusion or chaos, there's ease. It feels clean, clear, grounded, and that peace. It's not from you, it's a divine signal from the one who knows what fits your soul's journey. Repeated encounters or names, their name comes up in random places. You see them again after a long time. You hear stories about them from people you didn't expect, and it keeps happening. Repetition is one of Allah's gentlest ways of saying, pay attention, because nothing in your Qadr is accidental. The right people, the right reminders, they circle you until you're ready to see. Not to create obsession, but to awaken awareness. A persistent, quiet inner nudge. You've tried to forget them, tried to move on, tried to tell yourself it's nothing, but something. Always brings them back into your awareness. Not with noise, not with craving, but with a gentle consistency. It's not distraction, it's direction. That pull isn't always desire, it might be divine design. When Allah wants your heart to consider something, He places it in your path repeatedly through people, thoughts, du'as, and calm feelings you can't explain. 3. How Shaitan tries To distract you, Shaitan's greatest weapon is subtlety. He doesn't always attack your faith directly. Instead, he clouds it with confusion, delays, and doubts. One of his favorite tactics is waswasathos, inner whispers that make you second-guess yourself, your choices, and even your connection with Allah. You might feel stuck, spiraling in overthinking, unsure whether your heart is guiding you or misleading you. But there's a key distinction. Allah's guidance brings a quiet calm, even in uncertainty. Shaitan's whispers stir anxiety, rush, and fear. Often, we confuse fear-based reasoning with divine intuition. Shaitan thrives in that space where your faith is trying to speak, but your fear is shouting louder. You might delay a good deed, reject a path of growth, or sabotage a relationship out of overthinking, believing you're being careful. In truth, you're being distracted. Faith isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing trust even when fear is present. Allah guides with peace, not panic. So when Shaitan clouds your heart, pause, breathe, ask, is this fear from Allah? Is it meant to paralyze me? That question alone can unmask the deception and bring you back to the clarity only Allah can place in a sincere heart. For how to prepare yourself for the soulmate Allah has chosen before you, search for the one Allah has written for you. Focus on the one who wrote your story. Your connection with your soulmate begins with your connection to Allah. When your heart is anchored in Him, you stop chasing love that drains you and start attracting love that reflects His mercy. A heart rooted in faith becomes more attuned to what's real and more protected from what's not. Emotional and mental maturity are non-negotiable. Love isn't just about butterflies and sweet words, it's about showing up when it's hard, communicating through pain, and choosing mercy over ego. Prepare for marriage like you would prepare for a lifelong act of worship, because that's what it is. And most importantly, release what no longer serves your journey. Old flames, broken hopes, or unhealed wounds, they create emotional clutter. You can't receive what's meant for you while holding on to what's already left. Healing doesn't mean forgetting it, means freeing your heart for what Allah has beautifully planned next. When you purify your heart, strengthen your character, and deepen your faith, you don't need to search aimlessly. The one meant for you is drawn by the same light you're walking toward. Allah's divine guidance. 5. Why you must trust Allah's timing in a world that glorifies instant results. Trusting Allah's timing feels like swimming against the current, but the truth is what's written for you won't miss you, and what misses you was never yours to begin with. Patience isn't passive, it's powerful. It's the quiet declaration that your hope is not in outcomes, but in the one who controls them. Some of the most beautiful love stories begin with seasons of silence, waiting, and even tears. Those who wait with faith are not being forgotten, they're being prepared. Every delay, every detour holds a purpose. When you trust Allah's timing, you begin to see the waiting not as punishment, but as preparation. Heartbreak, too, is not always a sign of loss. Sometimes, it's mercy in disguise. What felt like the end may have been Allah's way of saving you from what would have broken you further. Rejection isn't always about being unwanted, it's often divine redirection. So breathe, trust, let go of your timeline, and submit to His. Allah is never late. When He delivers, it's always better than what you imagined and exactly when your soul is ready to receive it. 6 tests before the blessing comes. The test often arrives first. It's easy to desire love, but are you ready to receive the kind that Allah gives, one rooted in mercy, not fantasy? Allah doesn't just give you a soulmate, He prepares your soul first. That preparation often comes through trials, heartbreak, patience, and growth. These tests aren't punishments, they're purification. They shape your character, strengthen your faith, and cleanse your heart of attachments that can't coexist with divine love. Trials meant to refine you before marriage. You may be asking, why is it so hard before it gets better? Because Allah is crafting you into the person your future spouse will need, and vice versa. Maturity, empathy, trust, and spiritual alignment are often born through struggle. That loneliness you feel, It's not emptiness, it's space being cleared for something sacred, being ready for love. That's a mercy. Not a distraction. Real love in Islam doesn't pull you away from Allah, it pulls you closer. It's not chaotic or confusing. It feels like peace, prayer, and purpose. When you're ready for a love that elevates your deen, not your ego. Allah sends the one who aligns with your journey, not distracts from it. 7 real-life stories of divine meetings. Some love stories aren't written in text messages or dating apps. They're written in sujood, in silent du'as, and in Allah's perfect orchestration. A stranger at the mosque becomes a spouse she had been praying for clarity, for a sign unsure if she was ready for love again. One quiet evening, she attended the Isha prayer, heart heavy but hopeful. He walked in a few moments later, completely unaware that his steps were leading him into a divine intersection. Their meeting seemed random, just a shared salam and a mutual connection through a community event. But as time unfolded, it became clear, it wasn't coincidence, it was Qadr. Years later, married and grounded in faith, they look back and see how Allah brought 2 paths together at the exact right moment. A rekindled connection from the past. They were friends once. Then life separated them, distance, growth, time. Each took their own journey, experienced heartbreak, and found healing in their own ways. Years later, out of nowhere, a message reignited the connection. But this time, they were different, grounded, ready. What once didn't work now felt effortless, because Allah's timing had matured them into the people they needed to be for themselves and for each other. 8 common misinterpretations of signs. Not every moment that moves your heart is a sign from Allah. Sometimes, it's just your desires echoing louder than your discernment. We often want something so badly that we begin labeling coincidences, emotions, or fleeting connections as signs. But a true sign from Allah doesn't feed your ego, it humbles it. It doesn't rush you, it grounds you. When you think it's a sign but it's not, you might see their name pop up repeatedly. Or feel drawn to someone after a powerful dua hand, assume it's divine direction. But pause, is this really from Allah? Or are you trying to spiritually justify your desire? Are you truly seeking His will? Or subtly hoping He validates yours? Emotional attachment versus spiritual confirmation. Feelings can be intense and misleading. You may feel a strong emotional pull toward someone, mistaking chemistry for divine compatibility. But spiritual confirmation is different. It brings stillness to your heart, even in uncertainty. It aligns with your values, your growth, and your peace, not just your passion. Be honest with yourself. Ask Allah to purify your intentions and protect you from self-deception, because the greatest clarity comes not from emotions, but from a heart sincerely surrendered to Him. Final steps. When you're sure about the sign, when your heart is calm, your signs align, and your soul feels guided, move forward, but do so with intention and integrity. If something is truly from Allah, it will come with barakah, not secrecy. Involve your families early. Honor the halal boundaries that protect your heart and preserve your dignity. Love in Islam is not hidden, it's honored, and the right person will respect the process because they respect your deen. Involve families and keep halal boundaries. A relationship built on secrecy often ends in confusion. But one built on Allah's guidance begins with peace. Don't fear family involvement. If this path is blessed, it will unfold in the light, not the shadows. Nikah is a sunnah, not just a formality. Nikah isn't just a ceremony, it's the gateway to divine mercy. It's how love is protected, honored, and elevated in Islam. Don't delay it for fear, culture, or perfection. If you're both ready in faith and character, take the next step with TAWAKKUL. Conclusion. Your heart didn't find this message by accident. If your soul has been stirred, if someone's presence lingers without logic, it might be Allah speaking to your fitra. Don't ignore it. Don't chase it. Just follow the peace. Because when it's from Allah, it doesn't feel rushed. It feels right.